All right, y'all, I want to record a follow-up to a recent comment that we got in one of our videos, basically asking a question about what platform makes more sense when you're looking at blogging versus YouTube for SEO marketing. So the commenter on this basically was asking why not spend 10 hours on both and then decide which one works best for you. And I'd love to actually give you a little bit more in-depth understanding about why I want to not just advise you spend a bunch of time on both platforms, but deciding essentially what is going to make the most sense for you. So why not just spend a bunch of time creating content on YouTube and then spend a bunch of time creating content for Google? Now, the short answer to this is that both of these platforms actually require a lot more time and energy before you're going to start seeing traffic or results. So if you're only spending a couple weeks or a couple hours on each platform trying to test and assess which one's going to give you the most benefit, it's not going to be long enough for you to actually really see which one makes the most sense. If you're trying to just test both, the issue with that is if you're spending 10 hours on Google and content there, and you're spending 10 hours on YouTube with content on YouTube, neither one of those is going to get you where you want to go. Now, the second thing is that both of these platforms actually require a lot more methodical planning and strategy before you go into the content creation process. So what you're seeing here, me actually recording the video itself, is the least amount of effort, and it's not actually starting here. Where content like this starts is with keyword research, competitive analysis, understanding what it is you're trying to rank for, who it is you're trying to speak to, and how it is you want that traffic to then move through the rest of your pipeline when it comes to sales, when it comes to your business, marketing, etc. So the reason why we don't just say, try YouTube, try blogging, is that you really want to think about what makes the most sense for you, your business, and your time and energy. Most folks in business today, whether you're somebody like me and you're an ADHD mama bear who has a wonderful, hyperactive little boy who needs lots of attention and energy and has a very limited amount of time, it's not necessarily feasible to be spending a bunch of time testing multiple platforms or to just be trying to throw things against the wall, which is why it's imperative to actually plan strategically and to schedule things out. Now, personally, that's why I lean towards things like YouTube, because this is the first time in 2 months that I've recorded a bunch of content that's probably gonna last me the next 2 to 3 months, which is great. Now, if I'm doing something like blogging is also wonderful because then I don't have to sit here and put on my makeup, do my hair, record a bunch of content, and I can do it on my computer and my PJs looking like a little gremlin, and it's great, no one knows. But YouTube, obviously, there's a little bit more face and personality to it. And so there's a difference here in how you want to approach these platforms and how you're going to leverage them depending on what your business goals are. Again, I don't think it's always like the most equitable frame of mind to assume that anybody and everybody can just spend a bunch of time and energy and effort testing things without really knowing or being more discerning about what's actually going to reap them the most reward. So personally, the reason why I like to spend more time educating and helping folks better understand the options is so that when they do make a decision, they're making a well-informed decision, they have all of the data, they have all of the information, and then they can take that information and do what works for them. So let's dive a little deeper into that. If you are somebody who time is of the essence, whether you have a full-time job, whether you have kiddos, whether you have other responsibilities, whether you're just trying to figure out how to move things forward, understanding which platform is going to support you the best and what you actually have the time for to manage on a consistent, regular basis is a huge component to what kind of decision you're gonna make. If you're somebody who doesn't really have the care or interest in creating video content, you actually don't enjoy getting on a camera or being in some sort of like relationship with your audience as much, YouTube is probably not gonna be the place for you because you're gonna have a lot of resistance and a lot of not wanting to do this, period, when it comes to the platform itself. And it does heavily rely on you being consistent in how you're showing up with your content, but also having a little bit more personality with how you're communicating, how you talk on camera, how you engage with your audience, and of course, dealing with all of the lovely trolls on the internet. So fun. Now, blogging, I would say, is definitely much easier in the sense that you don't have to put on makeup, you don't have to do your hair, you don't have to record a bunch of videos, you don't have to go and edit your videos. It's, in my opinion, much lower maintenance and much easier to execute on because the real work is getting into understanding keyword research, getting into understanding competitive analysis, knowing how to write your content. And in today's world, 2025, AI is like pretty freaking amazing and helping you actually create content that works for you and for your business with very little effort. So if you are somebody who is really strapped for time, you're wanting to grow traffic, you don't actually need to have a podcast, a YouTube channel, a TikTok account, an Instagram account, and a YouTube and all of the other things. You can do so much with your business and focus on actually getting found online by just knowing how to leverage SEO on your website with a Google Business Profile and of course with blog content. That's one of the biggest things that I would say, depending on where you're at in that, if you're trying to decide what's going to make the most sense, it really depends on what you can feasibly manage and consistently maintain over the course of months, if not years. Now, the one thing that I would say about YouTube versus blogging, YouTube is really great if you're trying to actually build a personal brand. I think YouTube is an amazing platform if you're somebody who is wanting to consistently create educational content where people get to know you, the person, versus with your blogging content, people aren't necessarily searching on Google for a brand. They're searching for information, answers to their questions, and to find the thing that they're looking for, basically solving the problem quicker. Whereas with YouTube, you're really focusing on building relationship with your audience. So if you are somebody who is offering more service-based businesses that rely on you as the person or your company as a brand, it's a little bit different than if you're somebody who's just offering a service that has nothing to do with you, your personality, your lived experience, anything like that. Some examples of this are some of our clients who are in the automotive industry where their name doesn't necessarily have anything to do with their service or their product or what they're actually delivering. So it doesn't really make a huge difference for them to be on YouTube creating educational content like this versus somebody who, like another one of our clients, does more health wellness components, whether it's working on functional labs, whether it's working on chronic fatigue, whether it's working on hormones, where they're actually engaging and educating their audience and building a relationship with them where the audience is connecting with who they are as a person. It's more about relatability. And with somebody like that, using YouTube would be a lot more beneficial than just the blogging component. It doesn't mean that they need to do it. It just means that there's more incentive there for somebody who is a personal brand versus someone who doesn't necessarily have their face anywhere in their brand. If you don't have your face anywhere in your brand, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to then be on YouTube talking about your brand if you're just trying to sell a service, especially if you're a local brick and mortar business. So I think that's another thing to take into consideration. Now, the caveat that I'll mention on this video is obviously YouTube has a very wide audience. I have seen that with the comments and the folks that have asked questions and come into this. So we do get a lot of different walks of life. And my personal experience in SEO marketing is specifically in health and wellness, online coaching, consulting services, therapy services, physical therapy, things that actually are where you would sit down and pay somebody, have a session, whatever that looks like, and they're brick and mortars, right? Local brick and mortars that are based in a specific city. For us, it's San Diego. They have an automotive detailing shop. They have an urban winery. They have an actual physical office, and they're focusing on driving local traffic. If you're not necessarily fitting into those two buckets, it doesn't necessarily mean these things don't work for you. It just means that the answer might be slightly different because that's more so who this channel is speaking to and what we're talking about. For my local businesses who are not a personal brand, it makes a hell of a lot more sense to focus on SEO marketing through Google Business Profile, through Google Ads, through your actual website and blogs, because it's not about you, the person. If you're somebody who's offering an actual service where you are the service provider, you're the one delivering it, and they want to feel connected to you, build trust, build relationship, actually feel like there's a sense of reciprocity and relatability, then YouTube is definitely an incredible place to go. And or if you just hate being on camera, you can do podcasting, which would tag along with your blogs. Hopefully this video is giving you a little bit more in-depth insight into understanding the difference between choosing your platform and understanding which ones make the most sense depending on who you are and where you are. Also, just giving you a bit more insight about what it really takes to make these platforms work. So I think we're gonna go ahead and continue to play off of this topic here and build on it. But hopefully this was helpful. And if you enjoyed this content, as always, please be sure to hit the like button, hit subscribe, stick around, ask questions, comment in the comments. It's great, we love it. And I will see you in future videos. Bye y'all.